Okay, we are going to continue to review for the GRE test, and this is going to be exercise 6. So in the description box below you will find a link to more GRE material and also to my GRE course, in which you can see more GRE tests solved with the explanation of the exercises. And my suggestion, when you do this video and the videos of my course, pause the videos, try to solve the exercises by yourself, pause the videos, then check the explanation and see if you got it right. And if you didn't get it right, by all means pay attention to the explanation and take your notes. Okay, so let's start solving exercise 6. And exercise 6 is about squares, square roots, cubes and cube roots. Calculate and compute with squares, square roots, cubes and cube roots of numbers. And the question says, add 3 square roots of 7 plus this plus square root of 7. So let's solve this exercise here. So we have, let me write a solution here. Solution. So we got 3 square root of 7 plus square root of 7. So now, on the outside of this square root, you see you have a 3. So you have 3 times the square root of 7. On this side here, you don't see any number there. When you don't see any number, that means that there is a 1 there that you cannot see it, because in math, we don't write the 1 when it's multiplying. We just assume that it's 1, okay? So even when you don't see it, you know now that it's a 1. So how many, it's like you have 3 apples and 1 apple. So how many apples you have? Well, you have 4 apples. In this case, the apples are in the shape of square root of 7. So the result is going to be 4 square roots of 7, okay? And your answer is going to be option A, which is 4 square roots of 7. And that's how you add square roots. If they have the same, see, they both are square roots and they both have the same amount on the inside, which is 7. So you will only add the numbers in front of the square roots because they are exactly the same. You have a square root of 7 on the side and a square root of 7 on the side. Therefore, the answer is 4, okay? Okay, so let's move on now to exercise 7. It's about undefined expressions. Know that expressions with a denominator of 0 are undefined and have no solution. It says, identify undefined numerical expressions we have no solution, including a denominator of 0, square roots of negative numbers. Okay, so every single time that you have something divided by 0, that in math doesn't exist. If you have a polynomial x to the power of 3 plus 3x squared plus 5 divided by 0, this is undefined because the division by 0 doesn't exist. It's the same like if you have a square root of negative 7, that is undefined, okay? Undefined, okay? Or square roots of negative 2 is undefined, okay? Undefined. Only square roots, okay? Remember, you need to have here. Okay, so this is something that we gotta review too. So when we got square roots, you are not gonna see the number here. The index of the root is 2, but then when it's a square root in math, we don't write it. If you see, for example, okay, so and then before I keep going, so every single time that you have the square root of a negative number, that square root is undefined, okay? Or you can calculate the imaginary solution, but we are not going to get into that yet until we see it here in this review. By now, you know that square roots of negative numbers are undefined. So now, we did that review there. So let's do now, let's solve now this exercise. So let me clean this page here. Let me clean this. Okay, so we have, which expression is undefined in the set of real numbers? So now, the first expression that we have there is the square root. We have a square root of negative 4. As I said, a while ago, every single time that you have the square root of a negative number, that is undefined. Okay, so this option A is the right option. So now let's see, 0 divided by negative 4. Remember, I told you that something is undefined when it's divided by 0. If I had, for example, negative 4 divided by 0, that is undefined. But you can divide 0 by a number. 0 by a number that gives you 0. So this expression is not undefined in the set of real numbers, so this is not the right option. 0 to the power of 4 is 0 by 0 by 0 by 0, which is 0. It's not undefined, so this is not the right option. And negative 4 by 0, that gives you 0. So this is not undefined. It's not the right option. Therefore, the only correct option for this exercise is option A. Okay, so let's move on to exercise 8. Is this one here? Let me check. So yeah, so this is going to be exercise 8. And then the exercise says, a store charges $6.96 for a case of mineral water. Each case contains 2 boxes of mineral water. Each box contains 4 bottles of mineral water. So what is the cost of each bottle of mineral water? Okay, so let's see what information they are giving us. So when we are solving a word problem, make sure the first step you're going to do is to make sure that you understand what the problem is telling you about. Okay, so you can solve it accurately. So let's see. So we have a case. Let's draw the case. So 2 boxes. So we have 1 box, okay, which is this one here. So we have 1 box, and then we have another box. And this is something that I always suggest my students do when they are solving a word problem. Draw the problem so you understand what the problem is asking you to solve. Okay, so this is the case. Okay, this whole thing that you have here is the case. So it contains, each box contains 4 bottles of mineral water. So we have the boxes here. Okay, so we know that a case contains 2 boxes, so we have the boxes here, and we know that each box contains 4 bottles. So we have 1 bottle here of mineral water, one bottle here of mineral water. We have another bottle here, okay, and we have another bottle here of mineral water. So we have 4 in total in 1 box. So let's draw the other box. So we have 1, 2, 3 bottles, and 4. Okay, so now by drawing the problem, we know that 1 case, so we know now that 1 case equals to 8 bottles of mineral water. So now we know that 1 case equals to 8 bottles of mineral water, and that's equal to $6.96. Okay, so now we know that all 8 bottles, so we know 8 bottles cost $6.96, okay, dollars. If 8 bottles cost $6.96, then 1 bottle, I don't know how much is. And see, when I'm gonna solve these problems, I organize the information. I put bottles on the left and then the money on the right. And now my problem reduces to find the value of this X, which is 1 bottle. Okay, so what is the price of 1 bottle? Well, let's solve it. So we have X, which is 1 bottle, equals to, then every single time that I put the information this way, I'm gonna multiply these 2, okay, the one that is on the side of the X by the other one on the other extreme, and I'm gonna divide it by the number that I leave out. So it's gonna be 1 bottle. Let me see if okay, 1 bottle by $6.96 divided by 8 bottles. Okay, bottles. So a bottle, they cancel out with bottle. Bottles cancel each other out. And now my problem, what I gotta do in my problem, I gotta divide 6.96, I'm gonna put a point here so you don't get confused, divided by 8. Okay, so this is a division problem. So now you know you cannot divide 6 by 8 because 6 is less than 8. So you need to put a 0 here, okay? So once that you put a 0 here, but let me do it other way. Let's do something here. Okay, so 6 cannot be divided by 8 because 6 is less than 8. So you need to put a 0 point here at the top. Now, you will try to divide now 69 by 8. And yeah, you can put groups of 8 into 69 because 69 is greater than 8. So now, which number are we going to use? If we use 8, so if we use 8 here, if we pull 8 groups, 8 by 8 gives us 64, right? And then we subtract 69 minus 64. 9 minus 4 gives us 5, and 6 minus 6 gives us 0. So we got 0.8. Now we bring down the 6, and how many groups of 8 can we pull from 56? Let me see. 7. I think it's 7. Yes. 7 by 8 gives us 56. Okay. And then you subtract that, and then you got that one bottle, x equals to 0.87. So that means that one bottle costs $0.87. So the correct answer is option A, $0.87. Okay, so moving on to problem 9, we are going to talk about objects at scale. Use scale factors to convert dimensions between scale drawings and actual objects. For example, you might be presented with an image of the dimension of a room. The image might use 1 inch to represent 1 foot of real space in the room. And this is true. When people are building a house, for example, they have the drawing of the house in a blueprint, and the drawing cannot be in the actual size of the house because it will be very hard for that person who is building the house to handle a paper that is the size of a house. It will be impossible. So that's why we need to use smaller drawings to represent real objects. Okay, so let's see this problem here. It says a scale drawing of a house uses a scale of 0.5 inches and equals to 2 feet. What is the length in inches of a line on the scale drawing that represents an actual length of 5 feet? So now let's organize the information. We have two situations here. We have paper and we have real world. We know, so we have, let me write it here. So we have paper and we have real world. We know because the problem says that 0.5 inches of a drawing on paper equals to 2 feet in the real world. And then we want to find out how long will it be 5 feet on paper. How long will it be 5 feet in the real world on paper? So how long will it be 5 feet on paper? We don't know. Okay. So let's see. So we have paper with paper organized and real world with real world. So what we do, as in the previous problem, we are going to cross multiply. Okay, so we should multiply these two. Let me write it in blue. We're gonna multiply these two, and we are gonna multiply these two. And I'm gonna draw this in red because we never multiply x by another amount. Okay, we don't do it. So I'm doing it in red so you remember that you won't multiply. So I'm gonna erase this arrow here because the only two amounts we are gonna multiply are gonna be the amounts that are numbers. So I'm gonna say then x is going to be equal to, I'm going to multiply these two amounts, so 0.5 inches by 5 feet over the number that I should multiply by x. I'm not going to use it to multiply, I'm going to use it to divide. So I'm going to put it here at the bottom, divided by 2 feet. Okay, so feet, they cancel each other out. Okay, and then we have, let me draw it here, we have x equals to 0.5 by 5. Well, let's do it here, 0.5 by 5. I'm going to multiply 5 by 5 equals to 25. 5 by 0 equals 0. So I'm not going to write anything because I have one decimal here. I'm going to have one decimal here. So I move my point, which is here. I move it here. So this is going to be 2.5. So I'm going to have 2.5 over 2. Okay. Okay. So you have 2.5 over 2. So you got to divide 2.5 over 2. Well, half of 5, half of 0.5, if you divide 0.5 by 2, that's going to give you 0.25. Okay, so you're going to have 0.25, and half of 2, or 2 divided by 2, is equal to 1. Okay, and because feet cancel each other out, you have here at the top, you have inches, and your answer is inches. So this is the answer here, option A, 1.25. So you can say the line of 5 feet in the real world will be 1.25 inches on paper. And then you solved your problem already, okay? Okay, so we are moving on to question number 10, okay? And this question says, solve multiple step problems that use ratios, proportions, and percentages. Examples of multi-step problems include simple interest, percent increase and decrease, gratuities, commissions. Okay, let's see. This is our problem again. It says, question, multiple step problems that use ratios, proportions, and percents. The question says, the price of Veronica's meal before tax and tip was 11.92. Okay, so she went to a restaurant and she bought a food that on the menu said 11.92. Normally the food on the menu doesn't have any tax. Veronica paid 8% tax, then added a 15 tip to the total. To the nearest cent, how much did Veronica pay for her meal? Okay, so what is asking us the problem? So remember, this is our problem. We need to answer two questions, what and how. Okay, so what is the problem asking us? The final amount of money, of dollars, Veronica paid. Okay, that's what we gotta find. So how are we gonna find that? How? Well, we know that initially she paid $11.92 for her food, but then we need to add to that the 8% of the tax, okay? And then to this one here that she paid, we need to add 15% of tip, okay, to the total. Okay, so this is a multi-step, certainly, because it's a multi-step problem, because we need to solve the problem in stages. Okay, so let's calculate first how much is the tax. Okay, so the food is $11.92. Okay, if I'm gonna add, I can do it two ways, but I will explain to you the easier way, so you don't get confused and it's easier for you to solve it on your test, because on your test or during your test you need to solve the exercises as fast as you can, so you have time to solve all of the problems. So because I needed to add 8%, okay, 11.92, that's 100% of the price she had to pay, because that's the price of the whole meal. Because I'm gonna add 8% tax, which is gonna make the meal more expensive, I'm gonna have now 8% plus 100%, that's equal to 108%, okay? So what I'm gonna do then, I'm gonna multiply 11.92 by, if I convert 8% to a number, so I can multiply, I have to do 108 divided by 100, which is the percent symbol here, and that gives me, I have two zeros here at the bottom, so I need to move the decimal point two places. So I'm going to have 1.8. So I'm going to multiply 11.92 by 1.8, okay? And I'm going to do it here. So I'm going to, let me write it here so I can solve it here, so you can see me. So I have 11.92 by 1.08. Okay, let's go. So we have 8 times 2, that gives me 16, and I carry over 1. 8 times 9, that gives me 72, plus 1, that gives me 73, and I carry over 7. 8 by 1 gives me 8, plus 7. 8 and 8 are 16, so that gives me 15. And I carry over 1. And 8 by 1 gives me 8 by 1 gives me 8 plus 9, that gives me 9. Okay, so then I multiply by 8. I don't have to do it again, and I carried everything over, so I'm gonna erase this so I don't get confused. And now I'm gonna multiply by 0. Well, when I multiply by 0, everything is going to be 0. So 0 is in the place of the tenths. So I need to move one place to the left. So this is going to be 0. 0 by 2, 0. 0 by 9 is going to be 0. 0 by 1 is going to be 0. And 0 by 1 is going to be 0. Okay? I multiplied by 0. I don't have to do it again. So now I'm going to multiply by 1. 1 is in the place of the ones. So I'm going to start. This is the place of the hundreds, tens, and then I need to put the result of the 1 right here. 1 by 2 equals 2. 1 by 9 equals 9. 1 by 1 equals 1. And 1 by 1 equals 1. So I'm going to add everything up. Let me see. Okay. So let me write this better here so I have a space. Okay. So I have 1 here. And then I'm going to add everything up, like I said. So 6, I'm going to have 3, I'm going to have 7, I'm going to have 18, oops, 18, and I'm going to carry over 1 to the next column. I'm going to have 2, and I'm going to have 1. So I'm going to write a number here. So I have 1, 2, 8, 7, 3, 6. That's the number I have. 1, 2, 8, 7, 3, 6. And I'm going to have how many decimal places? I have 4 decimal places. So I'm going to count here. The point is right here. Now, 1, I'm going to move to the left. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's going to be 12.8736. Okay, that's the meal plus the tax. So I'm gonna clean this information because I no longer need it. Okay, because we calculated the meal with tax. Now we need to calculate the tip. Okay, so I'm gonna clean all of this here, and I'm gonna clean this here too, so it's not on the way. Okay, so we are left with, I'm gonna put it here, so we are 12.8736, and then this is the meal plus the tax. Okay, and this is what we have done so far. Now we need to add 15% tip to the total. Okay, 15% tip. So this is now the meal plus the tab. We need to add the tip. Okay, the tip is 15%. So to the 100%, to my new 100% price, which is 12.87, and I'm going to write it here. This is my new 100% because this is the meal plus the tax. I need to add 15%. So I'm going to have 115%. if I transform this into a number to multiply, so I'm going to divide by 100, so I eliminate this percentage sign here, and then I have two places, two zeros, that I'm going to move my decimal point to zeros to the left. It's going to be 1.15. So I'm going to multiply 12.8736 by 1.15. Let's clean this now, because you know where we get that information from. Okay, so let's clear all of this. Okay, and now let's multiply 12.8736 by 1.15. So let's multiply this by 1.15. Okay, so let's start multiplying the 5. So 5 by 6, that gives us 30, so I carry over 3, and I'm going to put the number in red so I don't get confused. 5 by 3 gives me 15, plus 3, that gives me 18, so I'm going to carry over 1 to the next column. 5 by 7, that gives me 35, plus 1, that gives me 36, so I'm going to place the 6, and I'm going to carry over 3 to the next column. 5 by 8 gives me 40, plus 3, that gives me 43, so I'm going to bring down the 3, and I'm going to carry over the 4 to the next column. 5 by 2 gives me 10, plus 4, that gives me 14, so I write the 4, and I carry over the 1 to the next column. 5 by 1 gives me 5, plus 1, that gives me 6. Okay, so I have 6 here. Okay, so I multiplied the 5, so let me clean this, and I know that I did this. So now when I multiply by 1, I'm going to have the same amounts, but then my 1 is in the 10th place. So I'm going to start in the 10th. This is the 100th place. This is the 10th place. So 1 by 3, that gives me 3. 1 by 7, that gives me 7. 1 by 8, that gives me 8. 1 by 2, that gives me 2. 1 by 1, that gives me 1. Okay, so 12. Wait a minute. Oh, you see, I made a mistake. I forgot the 6. So let's do it again. So 1 by 6, I'm going to place my 6 here. 1 by 3 is the next number here. 1 by 7 is the next number here. 1 by 8 is the next number here. 1 by 2 is the next number here, and 1 by 1 is the number here. Okay, now again I'm going to multiply by 1, but in the place of the 1. So I'm going to start in the place of the 1s, which is this column here. 1 by 3, that gives me 3. Oh, I always forget about the 6. Don't do that, guys. Start multiplying the 6. 1 by 6, I'm going to place the 6 here. 1 by 3, I'm going to place it here. 1 by 7, 1 by 8, same number. 1 by 2, and 1 here. Okay, and now I'm going to add everything up. So let's see. I have 0, I have 14, right? And so I carry over 1. So I got 6 plus 6, that gives me 12, plus 3, that gives me 15, plus 1 gives me 16. I carry over 1. 7.7 plus 3, that gives me 10, 13, 14, and I carry over 1. This is gonna be 12. 4 plus 8, gives 4 plus 8 gives me 12, and 12 plus 5 gives me 19. So I'm gonna, okay, gives me 19, but I cannot forget that I'm carrying 1 over. So 19 plus this 1 that I have here is going to be 20. So now I'm carrying over 2. So I had 2 plus 6, that's 8, plus 2, that's 10, plus 8, that's 18. So I'm carrying over 1. This is going to be 1 plus 1, that's 2, plus 2, that's 4. And 1 I have. So my result is 1484 640. How many decimals I have? I'm gonna let me highlight them here. So So I have 4 decimals here and 2 decimals here. I have 6 decimal total, so I need to move my decimal point 6 places to the left. So I'm going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I moved my decimal point 6 places to the left, and as you can see, I'm going to be left with 14.80 cents. Okay, so 14.80 cents because I'm cutting my amount here, and option D is the correct option. Okay,